We are going to continue our playthrough. So it is now the fighter's turn. So we will draw a card from the cartel deck. Double Barrel. It's an event. If no fighters are within 4 spaces of him, Juan places 2 power on the Carbine card. Gains 3 random defense tokens and forces each fighter to discard 1 card they control. If there is 1 or more fighters within 4 spaces of him, Juan unloads twice. So it's good timing because the Carbine card only has 1 power on it. So we're going to remove 1 power, take damage, and then he's going to try to unload again, but there will be no power on the card, and I can go in and try to attack him. So we'll go ahead and remove the power, and he's going to try to do 4 general damage to me, which I'm going to block with a grapple, a kick, a punch, and another kick. Now is the time to make our move. So I'm going to move 3, 1, 2, and as soon as I go adjacent to him, it will trigger on alert. So it says when a fighter moves into a space adjacent to Juan, he retreats 3 spaces from that fighter. If he retreated, Juan then gains 2 random defense tokens, unloads, and discards this card. So he's going to retreat 3 spaces from me. He's going to gain 4 random defense tokens, since there's 2 of these cards. He's going to try to unload, but there's no bullets in his gun, and then we're going to discard both of these cards. That is exactly what we needed. So he will retreat 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and gain 4 random defense tokens. So he's getting 2 kicks and 2 grapples. I still have a movement left, so I'm going to finish my movement moving towards him. So I'm going to use my action step to sprint. So I'm going to move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Then I have to play a card, and I'm going to play Snap Kick. Attack with 1 die. After this attack, you may discard 1 card to attack again with 1 die, adding +1 die to the attack for each stealth card in your discard pile. So let's do the first attack, which is just 1 die. I'm going to go ahead and discard Sneakers to add +2 die to this first attack. Alright, so we're going to roll 3 die, and we're doing kick damage. So we got 2 hits and 2 kick defense tokens. Juan blocks those 2 kick damage. But don't forget, we're charged up, so we get a +1 direct damage to our attack. So Juan is going to take a damage. Switching out health tokens, he's now at 10 damage dealt to him. The second part of Snap Kick says, after this attack, you may discard 1 card to attack with 1 dice, adding +1 dice to the attack for each stealth card in your discard pile. So we're going to get rid of a Razor's Edge, put that in our discard pile. And then looking at our discard pile, we're going to have an extra 1 die, 2 die, 3 die, 4 die. So 4 die, so it's a total of 5 dice. Once again, I only have 4 dice that came with the base game. So that's 4 damage so far, and we got to roll 2 more dice, 1 for the crit and 1 for the 5th dice. So that gives us 6 kick damage, as well as 1 kick defense token. So we'll add that token. And now we're doing 6 damage. So he's going to block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the kick damage. He's going to take 1 damage from the kick damage, as well as 1 damage from the direct damage. So that gives him 12. Additionally, he's going to have to discard 2 defense tokens, 1 for my last attack, and then 1 for this attack because he's carrying an objective. So we're going to discard 2 grapple tokens. Also, at the beginning of my turn, Recon should have unexhausted. Alright, so now we're going to activate our threat area, and Pin Down will activate first. We are not in a cover space, so we're going to take 1 direct damage. We're at 13 damage, leaving us with 5 health left. When Lucille would activate, she was exhausted, so she will simply unexhaust. And I can't forget to draw a card. A Rush B, which is going to allow us to do direct damage. So Juan is going to activate, and it says, if engaged, which he is finally, Juan attacks with 3 white dice, retreats 2 spaces, and gains 1 random defense token. So we will roll his 3 white dice. And it is 2 kicks and a punch. We will block 2 of the kicks and take 1 damage from the punch. We only have 4 health remaining. Juan then retreats 2 spaces and gains 1 defense token. It's a punch. For the carbine, we're going to put 2 power on it instead of him unloading. Moving on to the stage turn, we're going to activate the stage rules card. So each enemy carrying an objective moves 3 spaces toward the nearest entry space. So Lucille is going to activate first. Go 1, 2, 3. That's going to allow her to drop off the contraband. That places a power token on distribution network. And then Juan is going to activate and go 1, 2. And he's going to drop off his contraband, placing another power on distribution network. They only need 2 more to win the game. We want to make sure to shuffle those back into the stage deck. And then distribution activates. For each inactive objective, choose the enemy nearest it that is not carrying an objective, 1 enemy per objective. Move the chosen enemy 3 spaces toward that objective. Then exhaust each minion move that way. Both Lucille and Juan are 5 spaces away from the inactive objective that I'm standing on. So I get to choose, and I'm going to have Juan activate because I want him closer to me. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3. Then we need to draw a card from the supply and demand deck, which is the blue objective. So that comes back out onto the board. Going back to the fighter turn, we now need to draw a new cartel card. And it is Human Shield's Tactic. For each damage that Juan would suffer while a minion is within 5 spaces of him, a minion within 5 spaces of Juan is dealt 1 general damage instead. And when this activates, Juan gains 1 random defense token and then gains 1 additional random defense token for each figure within 3 spaces of him. If there are no minion figures within 5 spaces of Juan, discard this card and place 1 power on his carbine. So we need to figure out a way to try to do 6 damage this turn. So the first thing I'm going to do is play a card, and I'm going to play a Rush B. You may move up to 4 spaces. Each time you enter a space during this movement, you may attack with 1 red die, dealing direct damage. Each of these attacks deals +1 direct damage if you have not attacked that target yet this turn. So Natalia is going to move 1 and going to attack with 1 red die. That is 1 direct damage, plus this is the first time we attacked Juan this turn, so that's 2 direct damage, plus my special ability, I'm still charged up, that is 3 direct damage going to Juan. And that moves him up to 15 damage. We're then going to move again. That's my second movement. Attack with 1 red die. Let's re-roll that. I got a shield, so I get a defense token of my choice. I'm going to get a punch. And then my attacks deal +1 direct damage because my special ability. So Juan is going to get another damage, moving him up to 16 of 18. I'm going to move again and attack again for 1 direct damage, plus my special ability, giving 2 total direct damage, which puts him up at 18 damage. We have defeated Juan. So let's read the next part of the story. If Zane was defeated, which he was, Natalia hid from a passing doctor, not knowing who might still be looking for her. She had no problem staying unseen, but she was unaccustomed to doing so while holding back tears. Peering into the hospital room, she saw Zane, badly bruised and hooked up to a breathing machine. She choked back tears, wanting to go watch over him like a real big sister, but she still had work to do. Add the Orphaned Again penalty to the campaign pool. Choose 1 upgrade card to add to the story pool. Advance to part 2B. So here's Orphaned Again. This will come into play, and we're going to place it into your threat area. Each time you defeat an enemy, place 1 power on this card. If there is ever 5 or more power on this card, return it to the story pool. Activate. Discard 1 card unless you discard 1 defense token. So from here on out, we need to start getting defense tokens so that we're not having to discard a card each turn, or just kill 5 enemies. For our upgrade, we're going to upgrade Commando, which means we're going to remove this from our deck and replace it with this other Commando card. Our attacks still gain +1 die, but during each turn, you may discard 1 stealth card to treat any amount of damage you deal as direct damage. And finally, our action allows us to heal 1 more than it did before. The next part of the story reads, Natalia couldn't get the sight of Zane out of her mind. His youthful face covered in swollen bruises and cuts, blood crusting over the wisp of his boyish mustache. It was too much. She could not go until she somehow made it right. The doctors were doing their best, but she overheard talks of Zane possibly being paralyzed. Natalia could not let that happen. From a recent encounter, she knew of a facility on the outskirts of the city, a facility that developed cutting-edge genetic enhancements and conducted non-sanctioned medical experiments. Natalia knew for a fact there was a particular nerve rejuvenation serum in that facility that could reverse paralysis. She had to get her hands on it, and now was not the time for her practice caution. So we have reset, we have a new enemy to fight, a new stage, and we've placed all of our cards back into our deck. We've also placed the campaign penalty, Orphaned Again, into our threat area, and that's going to activate each turn. There were no setup rules on Dimitri. He does have 20 health and attacks with 4 dice, but Compromise does have a setup, so let's read that now. Each fighter searches the stage deck for a copy of Scared Staff from the stage deck and places it in the stage play area, placing objective tokens as normal. Search the stage deck for Armed Intruders and place it in the enemy play area. Shuffle the stage deck. So let's go ahead and do that. I've already put them at the top 2 cards. So there's our Scared Staff and our Armed Intruders. Armed Intruders are going to go in the enemy play area, and Scared Staff is going to go in the stage area. And we will go ahead and put that objective on the board. So let's read about the special stage rules for this scenario. Objective tokens are Scared Staff that are treated as figures that cannot suffer damage or gain defense tokens. If a Scared Staff is defeated by a card effect, remove its card from the game and place its token on Armed Intruders. Each little house symbol on the board is a safe room place. If a Scared Staff with no fear is ever on a safe house, that objective is rescued. Discard its token, shuffle its card back into the stage deck, and each fighter draws 1 loot card. Each power on a Scared Staff card is treated as fear. Each Scared Staff cannot suffer fear exceeding its health value. Interact. Flip an inactive objective in an adjacent space, then flip each power on that objective's cards to its defense token side and gain it. When a Scared Staff activates, if this objective is inactive, place 1 power on it. It's gaining fear. Otherwise, it moves 2 spaces so that it's farther from the nearest enemy, moving towards a safe house space in case of a tie. Armed Intruders reads, after a Scared Staff is defeated, place its token on this card. If there are ever 2 objective tokens on this card, the fighters lose. Activate. Each enemy moves 3 spaces toward the nearest objective. Place 1 power on each objective that has at least 1 enemy engaged with it. Then, defeat 1 objective that has 5 or more power on it and is engaged with at least 1 enemy. So we would love for the Scared Staff as they come out to move to these safe houses so that we can get a loot card. And now we need to determine where do we want to start on the board. We have 4 options. We can start at this joystick, that joystick, this joystick, or this joystick. And I think I want to start here so I can go ahead and grab a loot right away. So to start the fighter phase, we have to draw a Brotherhood card. And it is a Drago, who has 8 health, attacks with 3 die, and comes in with 2 grapple defense tokens. He reads, each time this enemy would suffer direct damage, reduce that damage by 1. Activate. Advance 3 spaces toward the nearest fighter and attack. Then, if unengaged, gain 1 random defense token. So we'll go ahead and place him in our threat area. There are 3 spots on the board with entry spaces that are the same distance from us. So this one is 4 from us, this one is 4 from us, and this one is 4 from us. So where he goes is up to us. And I'm going to have him start up here next to Dimitri. We'll go ahead and draw our starting hand. We have an ability, an attack, an attack, and an ability. So I'm actually going to mulligan all 4 of these cards because I need some tactics. Alright, now the deck is shuffled. We're going to try this again. Tactic, attack, attack, and attack. Alright, so we have a disarm, we have a recon, a sonic blade, and a snap attack. The first thing I'm going to do is play a tactic card, which is recon. When an enemy would attack a fighter, before the dice are rolled, you may discard this card to cancel the attack. So I'll go ahead and put that into play. I'm going to move 3 to gather this loot. And draw a loot card. I get a leather whip. Discard this card during your grapple attack to add +2 die to the attack. For my last action step, I'm going to gain 2 defense tokens. We have 2 punches, and this will help us with our hero story penalty. We now need to activate our threat area. Orphan again, discard 1 card unless you discard 1 defense token. So we will go ahead and discard one of the punch defense tokens we just got. And then Drago is going to activate, advance 3 spaces toward the nearest fighter and attack. Then if unengaged, gain 1 random defense token. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3, and then gain a random defense token, which is a punch. Can't forget to draw a card, so we'll draw a card, and it's Rush B. Next, we're going to activate the enemy area, so Dimitri's going to activate first. Dimitri attacks. Well, he can't because he's not next to me. If unable to resolve his equip effect, then Dimitri retreats 1 space. His equip effect says discard the top card of the enemy deck, and then put the topmost gear card in the enemy discard pile into play. If no gear enters play this way, Dimitri gains 1 random defense token. So Dimitri can't attack, and he cannot retreat, so he's going to discard a card from the Brotherhood deck, which is Boris. And currently there are no gear cards in the discard pile, so he will gain 1 random defense token. It's a grapple. You must have heard us get that leather whip. Next, we're going to activate Armed Intruders. Each enemy moves 3 spaces toward the nearest objective. Place 1 power on each objective that has at least 1 enemy engaged with it. Then defeat 1 objective that has 5 or more power on it and is engaged with at least 1 enemy. So Drago is going to move towards the objective. 1, 2, 3. Dimitri is going to move towards the objective. 1, 2, 3. For the stage turn, we're going to activate the stage line, so it's only the Scared Staff card. If this objective is inactive, which it is, place 1 power on it. So he's getting scared when he saw Dimitri and Drago come closer. And that is all it's going to do. Now we need to draw another stage card. Rising Fear. Place 1 power on each inactive Scared Staff. If less than 2 power was placed due to this effect, flip 1 active objective to its inactive side. Okay, so we're just going to place 1 power on Scared Staff. Now I need to get over there so I can get those as 2 defense tokens. I think we'll stop there for this video. Come back next video and let's see if Natalia can keep her momentum going against Dimitri and the Brotherhood.